Ian, you do the Project Resilience UK. You're looking to sort of how we can, as Laurence has referred to, sort of influence the conversation. Feel free to share your thoughts, sir.
The thing that is straight away that Laurence picked up and you touched on there with FEMA is that the paper that you were kind enough to publish, Beyond Resilience, the citizen survivability layer. Because in reality, when we talk about interoperability, emergency responders, etc., they are not the first ones there. We are talking about zero responders. Yeah? And therefore, in order to deal effectively with crises in the immediate moment, be that at an individual level, you have a heart attack, or you go up through the various orders of magnitude within the community, country, etc., then you need to have a proper understanding that the people that are always going to be there first are unlikely to have been trained. Certainly not in the UK. That may be different, and that's one of the reasons why we want to look at what Finland are doing, and other countries. I know that Japan, Israel, various other countries around the world have got some really good programs in to start embedding those kind of survivability skills into the population at large. So if you imagine that's sort of my basic starting point here, is all of this is great. And I remember talking to Washington, Professor Washington Ochieng at Imperial about this, and it was the main reason I got involved in this space, because I spoke about he spoke about the CARS project, which I know Laurence is involved with and is really, really good, and has a great deal of potential, I think, going forward. However, it's about recognizing that as a society, we've built all the structures, we've got the icing of the cake, we put a cherry on the top sometimes in terms of a regulator. But then what we've forgotten to do is actually bake the cake. We've forgotten to equip the people that we want to help with the skills necessary for them initially to help themselves. And so that's where the idea came from in terms of getting, how do you do that? Where do you start from? And Laurence touched on, again, in terms of, well, you've got to start at the bottom. That's my view. And you've got to start with the people. So this is basically, and I can only give you, I'm going to share my screen. Unfortunately, it's taken a little bit longer than planned. So yes, so what does a resilient UK look like? And again, as both have talked about, a resilient nation is where preparedness is normal. I'm not going to read it all. You can read yourselves, because I know you're all clever. But how do we get there, and what will we need to do? There's some metrics at the bottom that you can also see, and that's the aim and the objective. Now, in case any of you are thinking, what's this loony done? Has he just plucked some figures out there? No, these are the Office of National Statistics and Department for Education statistics. We have KS4, Year 11, 16-year-olds, 766,000 of them leaving school every year throughout the UK, which is great for them. But what we're going to do now is very quickly, I'm going to start on the bottom of the right-hand side. So we're talking about the empty minute. Well, the empty minute is what happens after an accident. That's what matters most. Every person, every minute counts. When we act instead of freeze, we save lives. the Empty Minute campaign, which Safer Spaces is going to be launching hopefully in the next month or two, creates that reflex to respond, to help, to know what to do. Moving up to building the layer. Apprenticeships. Now, we believe that the best way to do this is to embed it at school level. So everybody is actually working through the process. Now, when you graduate from our potential program is in year 11, then what you then do is the best person from that year, from that school, goes back and they become an apprentice. Then they move on to year 10, becoming an intermediate trainer, then to a trainer, so that by the time they go back into the system and they're being continually replaced, we have 4,182 schools every single year. That's 12,554 concurrent posts in a thing within each community across the UK that are actually delivering proper training within schools. And that creates what I would consider to be the ripple effect. Yeah. And that's the best bit for me. Because when you teach people, especially at a young age, and what happens is they come back to it. They go home, they say, oh, Mum, Dad, what's this, what's that, or whoever it is to the sibling, and they get an opportunity to practice. And that ripples it out. It then takes it out, that extra step, that extra layer, and brings people in. Creating a situation where social cohesion becomes a lived behaviour in this respect, not a slogan. Skills for life and work. We get survivability skills are also incredibly vital when it comes to employability skills, teamwork, calmness under pressure, responsibility. They build confidence. And that gives an economic or potentially economic contribution. It's sustainability by design. And we go back to the apprenticeship. We're reinforcing the system, peer teaching, and annual renewal, no permanent funding dependency. Sustainability will eventually be built into delivery. Finally, what do? We make sure that we capture all the things that we do well and that we build them back into the system so that we can provide future growth, future knowledge going forward. And I think as David's appeared, and he's been here for some time, that clearly means I've overstayed my welcome.
Okay, good stuff. Laurence, let's bring you in, and then we'll see how far we can go around the table a couple more times. Laurence, any thoughts, sir?
I think it goes to some of the questions that we've been looking at in the chat about, doing resilience and then presenting it to government as a way of. I just don't think the politics allows for sensible outcomes. So you have to follow the money. Where does the money lie, and what's the trail? And that's got to be with those on the ground, businesses, the organizations, society, citizens, the whole GDP of local communities, and doing things which sustain those and keep those going, and working at that community level without, if I'm brutally honest, not going. Once you start to go to government, then you can kiss whatever outcomes and whatever sense that you want, you can kiss it goodbye. It's about doing it, making it work, having an evidence-based model that really works and people buy into collectively, top down, bottom up, and left to right, without having to rely on government to do anything, because they should just set the framework, but not actually get into the detail.
That idea of community resilience is really good, but I always say that resilience is like fitness. It's a lot easier to get fit if you're fundamentally healthy.
Of course.
But if you're unhealthy, getting fit is very difficult. It's challenging. If we're going to have community resilience, to help if our communities are fundamentally healthy.
Yeah, but this is Ian's idea of getting it in right early years, getting it in as part of that curriculum, getting that that innate understanding, the knowledge, the responsibility, right from sort of kindergarten right the way through. That's how you overcome that, and that's and then obviously it's down to individual choices and so on. But if you can get that education from the grassroots, get it in, get it supported, then you've got a chance.
It is, and that's where we do get the outcomes. Hopefully, over to you.
Yeah, I think for me the conversation's drifted, and the reason is we're here to talk about resilience in the UK and how we embed that, and what are the challenges that we have between moving from where we are, from where we are to where Finland is. And within that context, Laurence is absolutely right. If we take a top-down approach, it's a necessary evil to begin with, but what we've got to do and go to and get to is that point where Totti touched. You do it because that's what you do. You were grown up, you were brought up into that situation. Let me just give you a situation now, a way of thinking about this. Because I've done all the costings for this, not just making it up. The bottom line is if you trained everybody from year 1 to year 11 on a continuous cycle, rolling cycle that went through, that costs less than £1 billion a year, believe it or not, if you do it the right way. The other side of it, when you come out then, in 11 years' time, you're going to have the best part of 8.8 million people that are going to be on my program or planned program. And I say mine, by the way, I won't be here. I'm 68, so it'll be good night for me. And before then, you're going to have 8.8 million people trained as FREC 3, have life and social skills, various other bits and pieces that we can help ingrain over time in terms of their respect. So that first cohort will be 27. They'll just be starting to have their children at that stage. They'll be starting to go to school, etc., and be going through this program. 11 years after that, you're going to have 16 million. That is, at 37, that is 20% of the population, David. 20% that have already got this mindset. And these people are now able not only to help themselves, they are not only resilient themselves, they also have the ability to start taking care of those that were unfortunate, because we built in that civic pride that exists as part of the Finnish model. It is civic pride that we built it into our system, and that will make it cheaper and more embedded, etc., etc.
As you say, I mean, the concept is there, the framework is there. Good luck with the funding. I hope that goes well for you. And thank you to everybody. I'm going to give you, Totti, just the final words.
Okay, so I'm a big rugby fan. I play and I coach and I referee rugby. And currently the Team Finland is globally ranked on position 74. I think we're just right in front of Team Vatican. So we're not big on rugby, unfortunately. One of the major reasons why we are not that good yet is that we don't have any junior rugby. So everybody who starts rugby starts around the age of 20, 25. If we're thinking about Ian's project and resilience in the UK, I think you are on the right track. It cannot start with society. I mean, you are thousands of years old, but you have to have the roots. You have to have the building foundation. And I think starting with youngsters, starting with children and changing the mindset is on the right track.